Hello and welcome back to my experiences of maintaining a weight loss with Slimming World. Those of you who watch me regularly will know that at this present time I am taking 2 A choices, 2 B choices and 8 SINs daily. Last week that had me with a weight loss which resulted in my going half a pound under my accepted weight band. So this week I carried on as normal with my 2 A's, my 2 B's, my 8 SINs, but added this fella. Now, it was a moment of madness, which I don't regret. I needed to gain a pound. I thought I could find a pound inside that egg. I didn't. My results this week are that I found 2 pounds within that egg and its little companions. I'm quite happy with that. I'm now sitting at 10 stone, 8.5 pounds, which is 1.5 pounds under my target. I'm comfortable at that. Can't say I want to gain much more because I would be lying. But yeah, today, physically and mentally, I'm comfortable with that weight. It's been an interesting week. I did say I would have pasta or potatoes this week. I actually had the world's biggest jacket potato last night, I believe. It was huge. And the night before I had a jacket potato with my dinner too. And I think that's helped on top of the egg to gain the 2 pounds and to put me back into target. And so this morning at group I didn't have to pay, which I would have done if I'd stayed below target. That would have miffed me a bit. Don't like to waste money. Anyway, what I'd like to talk to you about this week, again from my own experience, my life's experiences as a person who has needed for 40 plus years to lose weight and has finally got there and is desperately determined to stay there. Yeah, what I'd like to talk to you this week is this. Now, this is pink Himalayan salt, which is an okay salt. It hasn't had the minerals stripped out of it. So, as we know, salt is salt is salt. I had a very, very unhealthy, just put this down on the floor. I had a very, very unhealthy relationship with salt for many years. So much so that when I first met my husband some 31, 32 years ago, he would regularly say to me, "Do you intend to have some dinner with that salt? Or it looks like it snowed on your plate." He grew up in a family that weren't salt obsessed. I grew up in a family that added salt to everything. Never tasted it first. I was taught to cook by my grandma and my mum, and we put salt in everything. We would never have dreamed of boiling vegetables without throwing a load of salt into the water. Today I steam my veg, no salt. I think about, as a child, even just having a boiled egg in an egg cup, the top came off the egg, the salt went in. Would never have had tomatoes without smothering them in salt. Would never have tasted my meal, whether it was breakfast, lunch or dinner, without smothering it in salt. And we didn't have salt grinders in those days, did we? We just had a salt pot and a pepper pot on the table and we shook it on. Well, I look at the difference today. Over the years, I think when I was trying to diet, when I was trying to lose weight, I didn't understand the power of salt or the power that salt had over me. I didn't realise that it wasn't wise to have an excess of salt. Now, I've been researching this in my own small way over a long, long period, and I've been reducing my salt gradually without any major impact to my taste. I've reduced it gradually until now. I'm in a position where I don't put salt on my food. I don't use salt in cooking. I don't put salt on my dinner. I actually can taste salt in things. In fact, last night I had a chocolate Freddo, 5 SINs out of my daily SIN allowance, and I was astounded. It tasted salty. I could taste the salt in the chocolate. Now, I'm not saying that was a bad thing because it actually added something to it, and it obviously is needed to be there or that's what the recommended thing from the manufacturers is. Salt is an ingredient of chocolate, but it will be a minor ingredient. So often though, salt is a major ingredient of our food. Now, according to research, and you can all Google this for yourselves because you're all probably a lot more capable than I am on a computer, and you have a lot more access than I do as a blind person. But reading on the internet with my talking computer, I find the daily recommended allowance for salt is 6 grams. Now 6 grams is not a lot when you think there's 1,000 grams in a kilogram. So it's not a lot, is it? Now, when I watch cookery programs on YouTube, and there are some really good Slimming World cookery things out there, a lot of the people who cook seem to season everything. That's good. We know we like our food to taste good. But do we always need to be throwing as much salt in there? Because salt has a massive potential to retain fluids. Now, when we gain weight, it isn't all fat. It's not like somebody's smeared a ½ pound of butter on your bum. It really is often water. Now, 1 extra gram, this is according to a website I've read. Now, as I say, check it out. Don't believe everything I say. Check everything for yourself. 1 extra gram of salt has the potential to retain up to 2 pounds of water weight. Now, that doesn't mean it does for everybody. But you know, girls, there are times in the months and times in our lives when we have, that ability to seemingly gain more water weight. How often do we feel bloated? It's not always gas, it's often water. And sometimes, you know yourself, when we've exercised and we gain water, there's a reason for it. Your body functions in that way. But sometimes it can purely be from what we're eating. Now, I was just looking through the cupboards in my kitchen with my son's help and found a few things that quite surprised me. So I'm just going to give them as examples because these are things that I use as a Slimming World member that have salt where I wouldn't have expected it to be. Okay, firstly, passata. Now, if you're a Slimming World person and you cook the Slimming World way, this is something you'll use quite often. This has 1.5 grams of salt in it. Now, I don't know about you, but I wouldn't say this is salty. And I wouldn't have used this, the old me wouldn't have used this in my cooking and not added salt to it. Now, I know a lot of people add sweetener when they're cooking with tomatoes because it's supposed to lessen the acidity. I don't do that. I don't have sweetener. I don't use sweetener. Some people would put a teaspoon of sugar in with tomatoes. I know my mum does for the acidity. But most of us would add salt to that. Now at 1.5 grams, this is 25% of your daily salt allowance if you're sticking to the recommended amounts. That's surprising. This tin of Heinz 5 beans, and I would imagine the amounts are pretty similar whatever kind of beans you use, but check your tins. This is 2.4 grams of salt. Your daily allowance is 6. This is 40%. Now that surprised me again, because if you throw this onto a plate, let's say with some Slimming World chips and a slice or two of home cooked gammon or 2 or 3 rashers of lean bacon, think of the amount of salt there's on there. You've got 40% of your daily allowance in your beans, because if you're like me, you eat the whole tin. But if you only have half the tin, that's still 20%. You do your Slimming World chips, you cook them in the healthy Slimming World way. Would you not put salt and vinegar on them? Yeah, of course you would, because we're British and that's what we do. And gammon or bacon are something that we would regularly eat with chips. There's a whole load of salt hidden in that, which I'm not saying avoid it. I'm not saying it's unhealthy. I'm just saying be aware, because I never was. Now this is something I've recently got into. Creamed sweet corn. As I said in one of my previous videos, they say this is 5 servings. I'm still not sure who they're serving. But this, although it's sweet, has 50% of your daily salt allowance in it. 3 grams. So this, plus this, and this, together adds up to 6.9 grams of salt. Now, it would be very easy to put all 3 of those things in one day's food and not realise that before you add any extra salt to whatever else you're cooking, you're already well over your daily food recommended salt allowance. Now, I'm not scaremongering. I'm not saying, oh my goodness, never touch salt again. I'm not saying it makes every one of us gain fluid, gain water weight. But what I am saying is often it's these little things that make massive differences. And I'm not telling you what to do. I'm only telling you what I've done. And over the 6 years that I've been losing weight, before I came to Slimming World and the 3+ stone I've lost at Slimming World, salt was a major, major factor in my diet. Today, I was going to say by the grace of God, but today, one day at a time, it isn't. I've naturally reduced it little by little until it's not an issue for me anymore. You know, I don't need to throw a load of salt on my dinner. I don't need to throw a load of salt in my cooking. But I've noticed how many people do. So all I'm sharing with you is experience that might just point you in the direction of a bit faster weight loss, a bit bigger weight loss, or something that might just break the back of that one thing, one hidden thing that is stopping you moving forward. Because if I hadn't learnt these things, I think I would still be battling to lose the 11.5 stone I've lost. And as you know from watching my vlogs, it's taken me 40 years to get to this place. And I feel now to stay here, I need to share my experiences. Because if I'm not prepared to give away what I've got, I don't think I could keep it today.
Also, your blood pressure.
Oh yeah, thanks Joe, that's a good reminder. There is a link with excess salt, water retention and high blood pressure. Now remember, I shared a couple of videos ago that my blood pressure was always high. There were a couple of times when I was threatened with being hospitalised because my blood pressure was so high. I once was kept in the doctor's surgery for 2 hours before he'd let me go home. They kept testing it every 40 minutes or half an hour or something until it went down enough for them to actually safely let me go home. The funny thing was, on that occasion, as I was leaving his surgery, he looked up and he said, "Don't drive." I thought it'd be a bloody miracle if I could, wouldn't it? But anyway, laughter apart, Joe's right. Blood pressure. How many of us have got elevated blood pressure? It isn't always salt. It isn't always weight. It can be family history. But any little thing we can do to make a difference, it's worth it. Because I noticed today, I always used to feel heavy in the head. I always used to feel pressure here. I don't today. You know, I'm blessed. I'm really fortunate. I very, very, very rarely get a headache today. I used to have a headache most of the time. So, yeah, experiences that I just want to pass on that might just help somebody. I want to say thank you to my group this morning. Not a huge group this morning, but a good group. A young lady in the group who I believe will be watching my vlog said at one point that, you know, hi-fis are a lifesaver, or have been for her. And I have to say I really agreed with that, because there's something I use on a daily basis, not to replace biscuits or cake, but as fuel. Because I think if you want to go for a long walk and you want to enjoy it, stick a couple of hi-fi bars in your bag or in your pocket, eat them halfway around your walk, and it gives you enough energy to finish it willingly. Well, it works for me anyway. And yesterday, I think we clocked up... Well, no, I'll be honest. Yesterday was the first day I've ever topped 20,000 steps. I've been up to 19 and a half, but yesterday I did, I believe it was 20,014, which actually translated to 8.5 miles. And I have to say, I could have done it again. That amazed me. I used to come back after 2 miles and think I wanted to die. But now, you know, I'm just going to get ready now and I'm just going to go out and try and beat that. So, yeah, I think this week, all told, adding up my mileage, I have just about reached 50 miles. And it's not been a chore. And this is a girl who would rather sit with her feet up eating chocolate and watching telly than ever do anything else. So, thank God, don't have a telly today. Love to walk today. Don't need salt in my life today. Ate that Easter egg last Saturday to try and gain a little bit of weight. And yeah, that part worked. But hand on heart, I have to say, I didn't enjoy it. It didn't make me want more chocolate, which was a blessing. But I can't honestly say I enjoyed it. But the one thing I did find that because I ate it in the early evening, I didn't sleep a wink last Saturday night because I was on a sugar high. I laid in bed all night thinking, I wish I could come down, I wish I could come down. I was totally wired. So I won't be repeating that. Not to say I'll never eat chocolate again, because I've had crunchies this week and I've had I've had 2 Freddos this week. So you can eat chocolate and do Slimming World. It's not forbidden, but I wouldn't recommend an Easter egg the size of that one. Anyway, I'll be back next Saturday. It's Easter Saturday next week. I've paid myself a £5 this week for going to group and being on target. And I hope you have a really good week, everybody. See you next week. Bye.